Alright guys, what's going on? So today we've got a package mail in that I was expecting. This is from a customer. This is a 3-lever lock. Let's take a close-up look at it and get a probe so I can point out things. Things being 1, 2, 3 lever. 1, 2, 3 lever, and then the bolt. And this is no wards, looks like. This is my first time, other than a picture, this is my first time actually seeing this lock. And all the springs are in good condition. And it's a standard cabinet lock, 3 lever though, so a little bit more secure than your average bear. And a pretty big keyway, so let's take a look at some keys that might fit that. Alright, I went and grabbed some of the common keys that you use when you're making keys for these. I grabbed the first one just to show you. This is the common national key that fits a lot of different things, but as you can see, first off, even if this was on a cabinet and locked, it's way too small for that to fit. Even if the post went over, the shaft went over that post, it's still too small, not even deep enough to activate all the levers in there. So that's pretty much out of the question. So looking at the stock I have, I've got some of the standard and then 3 different of the decorative head keys. These are the 3F series from Elco. This is the 3M. The 3M is a smaller one and is not going to fit it. I just brought that for another example. And this is a 34B, which again is for a smaller cabinet, and the post is way too small, or the shaft diameter, or the hole diameter is way too small for that post. So we're going to go ahead and move these out of the way. And the customer wanted 2 keys, and it looks like I've only got one of this one, and 2 of this one, but this one's already been cut. This one's already been cut for a 3-lever lock. So I grabbed it just to see what it was going to do. And it looks like we're off. So that is not going to activate one of our, if we turn it in there, we can see that it's not going to activate one of our levers. Now it may work like it just did, but it's not unlocking it. This is why we always tell people, if they have a key made, to try it with the cabinet open. We were able to unlock it there, so just got lucky. And if there's any kind of catching or anything like that with a key that you have on a lock, and you go and you do that and you go, oh, it works, that's not necessarily true. So you feel it catching right there and you have to kind of jiggle it. What that's going to do is that's going to break one of these springs or mess up this mechanism in here, and you don't want to do that because this is pretty much pinned together. Could be taken apart, but you really don't want to do that either. So we're going to check out the keys that we do have. We've got kind of a bigger head, and then a smaller head. Now since he wants 2, we're going to email the customer first and ask them if they want to go maybe 1 and 1. But since I've got 2 of these blanks, this is going to be my main blank that I'm using. So this is the Ilco 3B, I think. I can't remember offhand, but what I do, start off with, just to make sure it's going to work, which I'm pretty sure it is, but the hole diameter is correct, the blade is correct, and then if we hold it in here, we see it is close. Very, very close. Now this is the only one I have, so we're going to have to go with this. Oh, come back. Actually, we're not. We're going to go with one of these wider ones. We're going to have to go with one of these wider ones. Okay, so we don't have a choice there. I guess we're going to make it out of these two since they're closest match. And we're going to look at that and we see that is plenty wide. Actually, it's a little bit too wide. So we know automatically, even though somebody in one of these videos said that I was an idiot for cutting the back of it instead of grinding the face down. There's reasons why I do that. I've been doing this for a while, but to that person, no, I'm going to cut from the back here. And I'm basically just going to take a little sliver off of it to allow it to go in there. And then also we measure it by holding it here and seeing how much we have to trim off the end to make it fit down in there. So basically it is just a little sliver off of each side. And grind it down to about there. And then we're going to take off just a bit of this back. Now you could do this with a hand file very easily because there's not a lot to take off. You could hand file it here, hand file it here. I'm probably going to go ahead and take my machine since I have that capability. And I'm just going to shave off a little bit there. And I'm going to hit this on the belt grinder. And if we look at the original key, we see it's rounded. I've talked about this before. Let's see if we can zoom in there. Hey, see how it's rounded and not flat across? That rounded lets it ride kind of better on the levers. So just a FYI, that is why it's rounded. And when I take off this little bit that I'm going to take off, I'm going to do it in a rounded fashion so the new is rounded as well. So let's go ahead and do that, and I'll be right back with you. All right, y'all, let's jump right back in this project. We got verification on both of these keys being the ones for this lock. However, we need to go ahead and start filing them down. And I don't know why I didn't bring my files, but I probably need those, right? All right, so I could do it with the machine that's like right here, but instead we'll do it like anybody else would have to do it. Let's go with this file. And we're going to take our keys. And if we remember correctly, we had to take just a bit off of the tip and also just a bit off of the back. So let's go ahead and don't really need a Sharpie for that, but if I were to use a Sharpie to do that, I would basically just say we need to remove that and just a little bit of the tip. But again, you can go pretty slow. We're gonna flatten it first and then put our little rounded cuts on it. And we want to be real careful because these blanks are not cheap. You don't want to go too deep. Typically I do about 1/8 of an inch at a time. And check. So it looks like we're going to have a problem with the hole diameter. So the hole diameter there is too small for that, which is very unfortunate. However, it is something that you have to be prepared to deal with. And so I guess we will get to talk about hole diameter in this video. But I'm going to go ahead and round this off right now. Not too much because I still got obviously a lot of cutting to do there. I'm going to go ahead and take this one down as well. I'm actually going to go with a bigger file because it's a bit more aggressive. And it'll do this quicker. because we are going to have to hole diameter both of these. There is just limited availability on blanks, so you do invariably have to kind of make it work. Now you notice I'm not clamping this in the vise. That's because I don't want to scar up. I could take, usually when I'm working on these, I'll show you with this wood, which is why I have so many different pieces of wood sitting here, but I'll clamp up the key between pieces of wood. Oh, hole diameter is good on that one. Oh, and it's pretty much good that way. We just need to take a little bit off of the back edge. Big file was a little too much. There's going to be discrepancies in holes, even though these are both 3F, which is the larger blank, and the holes look, where'd it go? And the holes look the same. It's actually just a tiny bit smaller. Oh no, it goes in. Okay, hold on. It's close. It's tight. So I'm still gonna do the hole trick just to show you. It's just not as bad as I was afraid it was gonna be. All right, so you could turn around and do, you know, here's what we're gonna do for the back edge of it. So our hole diameter is so tight that it is not wanting to turn very well. Be careful there because you want full coverage across the wafers. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and move on to our hole opening up a little bit. Take this one down a little bit more. Okay, be right back to get set up for that. All right, y'all, just for ease of use, I'm gonna go ahead and transfer these to my cutter, just to make this quick. You could, again, keep on going with the file and eventually get this, but you know, for locksmiths, time is money, so I'm gonna use what I can. So I'm gonna stop this so that I can mute this down volume a little bit. It's very high pitched. Okay, took a little bit more off. Let's see what it does. It is still not turning real well. So that's getting blocked right there. Okay, let's check it again. Again, we're going very slowly, so this video will take a little bit longer. And we've got a pass. So now that we've got a pass, let's get in some better light. And we are going to that edge is pretty rough, so I'm going to go ahead and come back over here. And even it out some before we start, because you want it sitting in there even. There we go. Alrighty, so this way to lock. So it looks like our tip is going to clear it. And here's where we have to do the levers. So if you were locked out of this, you would start turning it right here. And you feel it's springy. So that means it's passing the bolt, because it's got a spring to it. If it was a solid stop, that means your key's not passing by the bolt. And we can see if we have our Sharpie, I don't know if it's going to reach down. Yeah, it should. So I'm gonna put the wafer right there. And the reason I marked that one is because if we look at it, it is the first one to start pushing up. So that means it is the deepest. So we need to go ahead and cut a little spot for it. We will zoom up and over so we don't have to shift the camera around too much. And I'm going to take it down about, 1/8 of an inch. Slowly. We're still off just a bit, but there is a little wiggle room. You see that gap right there, so technically you can make this work. Needs to be taken off a little more, and then if we look while we're doing that, if we back it out a bit and then go in, we see that second one's pushing in too. So basically we have, most wafers are basically cuts 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. So if I was guessing, this would be 3, 2, 1. So the key is going to have the tip cut, and then a deep, and then a medium, and then a shallow. So let's go ahead and trim it up and see what happens. This deep cut needs to go deeper. Okay. I stretched it right there. Simply for the fact that I'm trying to speed up this video as very dangerous to do that. If you're gonna implement this in your work repertoire, you don't want to waste the key blank. So you want to go slower than that, but I've kind of done this a couple of times. So I know kind of how deep it needs to go. It looks like I still need to go over a little bit on number 2 wafer. So let's knock that out before I continue. Okay, I'm back. Work interruption there. Probably need to, oh, let me show you one thing. About the only thing I use dikes for is this. With brass keys, you can use it to scrape away the burrs on the edges there. Okay, let's see how I've gone with the depths. Okay, we're going a little bit further. Looks like our first wafer is pretty close. But still needs to go deeper. Still not sure about the first wafer, but the second one is gonna need to go deeper as well. So deep and deep. Deep, deep, deep. Deep, deep, deep. As I expected. Okay, we still in frame over here. Trim the edges again. And see where we're at now. As you can see, it's just a big old back and forth game. Okay, so we have no windows, but looks like we are just about to pass the number 1. Number 2 is holding us up, and I believe that first one needs to come down just a bit, but not much. We're gonna go down on 3, 2, and 1. Here we go. This should be one of the final cuts before we figure out where Okay, now we're going to switch to a needle file because we need a little bit more fine-tuned precision there. All right. Oh, we're going further now. We're trying. Okay, so it's holding it. Hey! How are you?
Pretty good.
Okay, several customers come stop me. Where were we? We were close. Number one cut needs to be flattened. And we can actually look. Hit it with a little file on that number one cut, just to make sure of what we have here. Looks like we need to go just a bit deeper on 3. Check that. Still got something holding us up. I think it's going to be 2 now. 2 is not sitting very well. 3 is. It's not sitting very well, so let's clean up the edge on 2, and that'll probably let it work. It's got an angle to it. We're at the critical mark of making this key. See how deep that first one is. It's really deep. We're probably gonna have to go just a bit deeper. Still not deep enough on 3, is what I'm thinking. Three's pretty deep. But it could also be 1. So let's clean it up again. I'm gonna move it over here because I'm gonna do a little file work now. smaller file for this. All right. Once again, see where we're at. Okay, so now we're not really sure what's holding us up. Could be any of them. You can see it's trying to come out. And what you don't want to do is go too deep. This is, oh, again, your critical point. So we are going to very carefully go down just a bit on each one. And bring it over here for one last little file. And I say last because I feel like we're right on it. Probably not going to need to use the machine anymore. Further. So now we're putting good marks. You can use a candle, but we should see some marks coming up on these various surfaces. Third wafer. You can see the mark coming up really well. See how it's pushing in right there. So we're just going to do one last little lap of the machine because the blade is thin enough to do that. Can't get really down in that deep cut of the file. Touch it up one last time. One more last time. Using this opportunity to go ahead and round the edges. And I think we have it here, guys. Hello. Okay, so we're caught up. Looks like the tip is caught up there. So it's all right. Easy fix. Just needs more rounding. A little bit more. Okay, I think that's it finally, y'all. Okay, it has been a while since this one has been turned, so I get just some oil. This also protects the springs. It gives a coating of oil. So we want to put it kind of all over that. And then cycle it a few times to get it used to working again. And we'll do our final cleanup here to make it look good and to get any of the extra burrs off there. Okay. Sweet. And that's all there is to it, guys. Most of them are not terribly bad. Thanks for watching. Y'all have a great one.